Thanks for joining us today. My name is Jennifer O'Donnell. I'm with BioNB, and today we'd like to present a webinar on a beginner's guide to getting your company online. And it's the last session in our winter webinar series for 2014-2015. So this is targeted at early stage startup companies, technology companies, who are ready to get themselves out there online, set up an email, set up a website, that kind of thing. And so we thought we'd share some tips and tricks we've learned here at BioNB to help you do that. So it'll be myself, Jen O'Donnell, and Jenny Callagher presenting today. We'll be switching back and forth. Hopefully no more technical issues. And yeah, we'd like to teach everyone out there that it's not so bad and pretty easy to get yourself online, set up a website, and it can be quite inexpensive as well. So we're going to talk about why you need to be online for your business, even in the early stages. How do you start to do that? What are the tools you can use, the people you can engage, and what you need to prepare. And then we'll talk about some key tools, how those tools work, how you can get them up and running, and what kind of design features are important. So the key tools we'll talk about are your email, obviously a very crucial way to be communicating with customers, investors, anyone you have to deal with for your business as you're scaling up. The next tool will be your website. We'll also talk about using social media for business, and we'll just touch on some of the analytical tools that are out there. Once you have these things set up, you can use these tools to really learn a lot about people and how they're interacting with you. So just a couple of housekeeping items for this format. You are able to type in questions into the questions box on your GoToWebinar dashboard, and we will be happy to answer any questions you might have. We'll stop periodically to read some questions out, and hopefully we can have a good discussion. And when we're done, we'll have a feedback survey that we'll email to you. We would really appreciate any feedback you have, positive or negative. It'll help us with what events and presentations we do in the future, because we're all about helping out the community that we serve with what's best for them. We're recording the session, and we will be posting it online probably later this week, and the other sessions we've done this year are also available on our website, bionb.org. And just a quick note, we're going to talk about some specific products and tools that we like to use while we're online. So we're sharing with you some tricks that we've learned, but we don't intend to endorse or back any of these particular products or services. So just to give you a little background, BioNB, we're a nonprofit organization, and we're here to promote the bioscience sector, bioscience ventures in New Brunswick. And we do that through coaching, networking, mentoring, and building a community for biotech businesses. And we're really pleased to have a mixture in the audience today of people who have bioscience companies, people who are researchers, but we also have some people from other technology incubators and people who have startup companies and things like that in the province and beyond. So just for everyone out there who's not familiar, I wanted to just speak a little bit about what the biosector is all about. When we talk about bioscience or biotechnology, those are kind of interchangeable terms. And we're talking about activities where the knowledge of how living things function are applied to manufacturing, research, and services. And that can spread into many sectors of the economy, such as food, health, medicine, forestry, fisheries, and agriculture. And we love working in this sector. We think it's a great opportunity to foster economic development, and also these kind of technologies and industries have applications for global challenges in healthcare, agriculture, environment, climate change, all kinds of things. So we're really fortunate to work with some really cool researchers and experts in this sector. So now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Jenny, and she's going to talk about the nuts and bolts of why you need to be online.
So I'm going to be talking to you about why you need to be online, and I would like to do this with just my top 10 reasons. So the first reason is that the internet is simply now a fact of life and business. There are literally 1 billion people on there, and if you're not on there, you're not in the world. And people are going to be looking for you online. And if you're not online, your competitors are. So when someone comes looking for you, you want them to find you and not your competition. Having a website or being online improves customer service. It allows people to hear about you, to learn about you, get in contact, and have their questions answered. Having a website means you're open 24/7. People go on the internet a lot in the evenings or at night. So instead of having to send you an email or calling you on the telephone or stopping by your shop and taking the risk that you might be closed, you're open all the time and you can always provide feedback. Customer service, right, and having a website allows you to share your basic business information, and the basics are very important. That just includes what you do, when you're open, and what people can get from you. My number 7 is that you can target a wider market. If you were to use simply local traditional marketing techniques, you can only access a few dozen or a few hundred folks, but if you're on the internet, you can access everyone all over the world, hundreds of millions of folks. Being on the website gives you credibility and professionalism. If you appear current, if you appear available, if you appear on top of things, people are going to want to do business with you. Having a website also helps you with your branding. So if you're competing and you want to grow, you really need to work on your brand and what people think about you when they hear your name. So having a website allows you to have control over what people think when they hear your company. And the last one is online marketing is affordable and expandable marketing. If we thought of something such as brochures, to print off a brochure, it costs a few dollars. To mail it out, it costs a few dollars, and it's difficult to change that brochure once it's already been out in the world. And it costs money to produce each one of those. If you're online, you can change your website, you can change your messaging, and it is not that expensive to change what you already have out there. So let's get started. The bare minimum that you need to have on your website is simply your company information, how to get in touch with you, and what your company's message is. I like to call that your ask. So for some people, you could be asking people to buy your product. But in some cases, it could be you're asking someone to simply get an estimate, or you want them to sign up for your newsletter so that you can give them additional information. Or you want them to see a brochure. So all 3 of these are examples of just one-page websites, and all they're doing is asking someone to get in touch with them or to interact with you. So now you know who that customer is and you know what they want from you. So now I'm going to pass it over to Jen, who's going to talk about how to set up your email.
Great, thanks Jenny. Sorry for the bit of a slow transition there. So yeah, we wanted to share, we're a small organization. We don't spend a ton of money on web developers and email services and that kind of thing. So we've learned over the years how to do a lot of these things ourselves. And but having said that, we are certainly not computer scientists. We're not web developers. So take some of this advice with a grain of salt, but it really is most people who have a familiarity with, using a computer every day, using email, using logins and passwords can really set up these things, especially in the early stages of a company when you only have a few employees and you don't want to commit a lot of resources to having a full-on IT department. Okay, so probably the first thing you will want to set up so people can reach you is an email address, and that is a good time to to purchase or to subscribe to get a domain name. So you'll need the domain name for both your website and your email address. So just a couple of quick definitions. A URL is the address you put in the search bar in your Google Chrome or Internet Explorer. And that's the information that directs that browser to show you a specific document that is hosted on the Internet. So in the picture I have here, the URL is the http bionb.org/en/events, and that brings you to that specific page on our website. And then when we talk about domains and domain names, the domain name is bionb.org. It's not bionb.com or bionb.ca. And so that exists, that's a domain name, and it relies on something called a DNS, a domain name server. And that translates the name of the physical IP or the address on the Internet that information is held. So your first steps one of your first steps in getting online, once you've thought about the things that Jenny talked about, is to choose your domain name that'll work for both your email and your website. So, for example, your company is called Awesome Bioproducts. AwesomeBioproducts.com would be a great domain name to try to purchase. So what you can do is go to the site called Whois and enter in your #1 pick for your domain name and check whether it's available. And it'll actually tell you if it's available or if it's not, if someone else owns it, that kind of thing. So I did that, and this awesome domain for Awesome Bioproducts is actually available. You can go out and purchase it and start setting up yourself online. And so this is a good way to start out too, because it's a lot more professional looking to have awesomebioproducts.com rather than using Hotmail, Gmail, or something like that. It just really crystallizes your brand a bit more. So you could create, so you could, if the domain name's available, you can purchase it. And there's all kinds of sites where you can do that. They're called domain registrars. And some of the ones that are the most popular are register.ca, which is actually, I think, the only place you can get .ca domain names, and GoDaddy and EasyDNS are other registrars. And you can lock down your preferred domain for probably about $30 a year. They have lots of different features that you can subscribe to, but basically $30 a year would get you what you need to move forward. And you may need to check several of those sites to actually see if your name is available. They have different, they don't all have access to the same domain, so you may have to do a bit of checking first. But a lot of the time your domain name is not available, and we actually ran into that here at BioNB. So we changed our name last year. We wanted to purchase bionb.com, so I entered that in that Whois site. And it'll actually tell you where the domain's registered. If it's not available, this one was registered already at GoDaddy.com, and you can actually go to that site, enter the domain you're after, and sometimes it'll tell you actually who has it registered. And you can go after that person and see if they're looking to sell it, because it's actually a bit of a cottage industry, even locally here, which we were kind of surprised to find out. But yeah, sometimes you can track down, and people go and buy a bunch of domains just because they want to have these desired digital addresses for people to purchase from them. So you could look into purchasing from somebody, but a lot of the time they're really looking for too much of a profit. So you can actually just go for a variation on your #1 pick for your domain. Maybe you change it from .com to .ca, or maybe make a slight change to the name itself. And as I mentioned, it's good to use what's called a custom domain email. So the opposite of that is like gmail.com, but it's fairly easy to set up an email using your own custom domain. So in this example, you could set up sales at awesomebioproducts.com. You could set up a series of emails for all people who work there with separate emails. There used to be a number of free tools where you could do these custom domains. The only one I could find today was one called Zoho, and it's a pretty basic email service, but it does give you, I think, something like 20 email addresses for free. It gives you a nice clean interface to check your email on. You can set up your email on your own laptop or cell phone to receive and send emails, and it's all for free. So you just need to know a little bit about, you need to purchase the domain yourself and then go to one of these sites to sign up for an email. And it's really not too difficult to set up. There are a number of other services that do custom domain emails. Google and Outlook actually used to do them for free, so I could have logged into Google, said I want BioNB.com as my domain, but now they actually charge a little bit for that, but it's worth looking into because those are really great, and millions of people use those interfaces for email, so they're pretty reliable. And then the more upscale professional way to do it is to get a hosted Exchange server. So that's a service provider such as Bell will set up your email for you. They'll host it on their server, and they usually charge you per account. So if you're not into the do-it-yourself, that's a good way to go, but you'll need to invest more into it for sure. And just a note, Jenny's going to talk about setting up your website. So your website and your email both use the same domain. It's in that you've purchased it from the registrar, and you'll need to go into that, say it was register.ca. There'll be a control panel in there. It'll show you all the settings for your website and how email is handled, and you'll have to go in there and make sure it's set up properly, because if you change the name servers a little bit, sometimes it'll bring one of them down. And so that's getting a little bit more technical than the average person can handle, but it might be one area where you may need to seek out a person who's a bit more computer savvy to troubleshoot those kind of things. So a website hosting service, you'll hear people talk about where you're going to host your website, how you're going to host it. So that just refers to an actual server somewhere out there that's actually storing the data for your website for a client. I think we have a question. Let's see. Question was, which is better between Gmail and Zoho Mail? That's a great question. I think Gmail is going to be a lot more feature-rich, but you're going to have to pay for it. I didn't look up how much that actually costs, so that would be something to have a look at. But I mean, if you're just starting out a startup company, I would definitely start out with something like Zoho Mail. It's free. See if you like it. And you can always change, right? That's another thing that kind of reaches a lot of points in this presentation is, you're not stuck with any of these things. You don't have to stick with the same website provider. You don't have to stick with the same email host. But these are great tools to, just get the ball rolling and keep things consistent, right? You don't want to be developing a company and then changing your email every 6 months. It's going to be really hard for people to keep track of you and reach you. So thanks for the question. Back to hosting. So hosting is the person who actually holds the data for your website. But when you start to look at developing your website, it is really quite easy to do a basic website on your own using a website builder tool. And a lot of the time, hosting is actually included when you do that. And some of the tools, and Jenny's going to talk about them in a minute, but you can pretty much get a basic website going up that describes your company, tells people how to reach you, has some nice pictures, your logo, that kind of thing. It'll be hosted for you, and it should cost around $200, $300 a year. Usually they're billed monthly. But of course the other option is to engage a digital firm, a web developer. We have lots of them here in the province, and really they don't need to be next door to you either. Like, you can work on that kind of thing over the phone, over the web. So just a few tips. If you're going to go that way, there's a huge range of prices in getting a website built. I would say anywhere, probably starting around $5,000 and up and up and up, depending on what you need on your site. A good way to do it is to really make a detailed proposal and send it around to several, 3 to 5 different developers that you know of, and maybe you have friends and colleagues who have dealt with before. Be really detailed in your proposal. Tell them about your company. Tell them what you want the website to accomplish, and get some comparisons and timelines from them. But some of the advantages of going that way, of course, are if you want to do e-commerce on your website, if you need more functionality, if you need to put data on your website or databases, that kind of thing, it might be beyond the scope of what you're willing and able to accomplish outside of your normal business day-to-day stuff. All right, I am going to hand it back over to Jenny, and she's going to talk about building your website.
Great. So thanks, Jen. So I'm going to talk to you about building your own website. Jen spoke about getting someone else to build your website. In those cases, where we find the disadvantages is you don't get to customize as frequently as you would like. We actually had a question and it said, can you update your website after it's already been published? Well, if you go with a developer, you either have to contact them to make the changes, or you can make changes, but they're limited. I'm going to show you the option that would allow you to have full control over the content and the look of your website, and you can publish it and change it 20 times a day if you felt like. So when you think of building a website, you probably think this. You probably think you need to know HTML and CSS and all these other fancy letter acronyms, but I'm telling you that that's not the case anymore. There are literally dozens, maybe even hundreds of website building tools out there. There are many that are drag and drop, and it's very, very easy to use. It's almost as easy as setting up a Facebook page or even just using your email program. So even though there are dozens of them, here at BioNB, our favorites are Weebly and Squarespace. We've actually built websites on these, and the internet community really agrees that these are the two best ones. So Weebly is really great because it's very, very easy to use and it has many useful and powerful features. It's great for all businesses, from very artistic ventures like photography or architecture, or to sort of technical science businesses like some of our clients. Or you could even use it for a personal blog. Squarespace is also easy to use and very powerful. Their templates are a little bit more stylish and modern, and it's a lot better for pictures and sort of just showing your imagery. Their strength is galleries and artistic features. So both of these services and most web building services can let you do pretty much anything. You can have text, photos and galleries, Google Maps, you can have contact forms, surveys, search function, embedded videos, audio. You could even attach documents, and you can actually even set up an e-commerce website. You can allow people to search a catalog on your website and actually make payments using these services that we're talking about today. So I'm actually going to go through the steps of setting up a website using Weebly, just to show you how easy it is. So this is my Weebly account. As you can see, I have 2 websites here. I will show you how easy it is to set one up. So simply click Add Site and ask me what the focus of my website is. I just want to do simple site. And then here you choose a theme. So this is the look of your website. As you can tell, there are many of them. They're absolutely gorgeous, and it's pretty hard to mess them up. I like all of these, but for today, I think I'm going to pick this one. So I click Choose. So here it wants you to set your website domain. That is the URL, the web address that Jen was talking about earlier. This first one is what we're going to do today because it's free and easy. It's just awesomebioproducts.weebly.com. These 2 other options, one for registering a brand new domain and the other is for connecting a domain you already own. So if you went through the steps that Jen talked about and bought a URL, that is where you would put it. But for today, we're just going to use the free Weebly one. So I click continue. And this is the dashboard for creating a website. It is so easy. So I can just select this, and I can put awesome bio products. Oh my goodness, I can't spell. Oh my goodness, here we go. Inc. Easy as that. I can say, we make awesome products. That says what we do, and we make products for awesome people to do awesome things. And there you go. So you have this button here. You can get this button to link anywhere. You can get people to sign up for whatever. I'm just going to say sign up for our mailing list. And I can set up that button to do whatever I want. I can get it to link elsewhere to another website. And then there's this image in the background that's pretty nice, but I don't think it really describes my brand or my company. So I just hit edit image. I can use any of their images in here that are all really great, but I have one in mind that I found on the internet. So I hit upload image, upload a photo from your computer, and here I have some that I saved on my computer. So I think I'm going to pick these ferns. I hit open. It takes a sec to upload. And there you go. I have that image. So it gives me some options for darkening. I find that text a little bit hard to write, so if I darken the image, it makes the text easier to see. And there you go. So I hit save. And that's it. That's what my homepage looks like. Awesome Bio Products Inc. We make awesome products, and people see what my brand is all about. It's really that easy. It's unbelievable. So a lot of pages or web pages, you'll see these tabs at the top. That's really easy. You just go to pages, and you can make a new page. So I'll make a standard page, and I'll say company history. So I hit save and edit, and it takes me here. And to add elements to this page, I simply take these elements on the side. I can insert text if I want. I can insert an image. And I can put text on the side. I can do all sorts of great things. And you definitely have to fiddle with it, but don't worry. The world won't see your changes until you hit this publish button. So if I hit publish right now, I should be able to go to, oh, sorry, personal, continue, publishing. So if I go to awesomebioproducts.weebly.com, there, I can see the website I made. It's that easy. So right now, this is a free Weebly website. It's going to cost me nothing to have it, but if you want to have an original URL or you want some additional functionalities like putting footers at the bottom, you do need to pay a fee, a monthly fee. It's as low as $8 a month. But if you really want to get started, it's nothing, just to play around with it. So let's just talk a bit about web design if you're going to be doing this yourself. You want your website to be simple, professional, informative, and easy to navigate. I want to show you some examples of terrible websites. So this is a website called, I don't even know because their name is very unclear. I have no idea what they do. It's very messy, it's very unprofessional looking, and it's really difficult to navigate. If I want to see information, I can't just click it and find it. I have to scroll all the way down the page, and that's not easy for a user to use. Here's another bad website. It's just very poor design. It's not attractive to the eye. I don't really want to be here. I don't know what they're all about. Here's another one where there's lots of information, but it just doesn't really make me want to do business with them because personally I don't find it very professional. And then there's this one called Headhunter Styling. It says save our beaches, but it doesn't really say what they do for me. So you want your website to look a little bit more like this. This is a great example of simplicity, professionalism. It's informative. It says, be good with your money, pay all your bills in one place with Mint Bills. So now I know what Mint Bills will let me do if I want to learn more. I simply scroll down and the information is very, very easy to find. It's concise, it's simple, it's professional, and it makes me want to do business with them. So I know we're not all professional web designers. If you're going to go that route, I really suggest that once you build a website, you get frequent feedback from your employees, your friends, your partners, your enemies, your competitors. Just get everyone to look at your website and get their feedback, because you might think it's great and your customers may not. So I'm going to speak briefly about online marketing. So really the goal here is just to attract visitors to your website so you can turn them into a customer. Or if you're not a for-profit venture, you want to make them a partner, an advocate, a member, etc. So there are really 3 ways to drive traffic to your website. The first is search engine optimization. It sounds very complicated. Then there's content marketing, and then there's social media. I suggest you learn a bit about all 3 of these, but just for today, I want to talk very briefly about social media. So if you really want to know what it's all about, you should check out the webinar Marketing Challenging Technologies by Heather McLean. She hosted it for us last spring, and it's on our website. So after this presentation and you're really curious about social media, I invite you to go check that out because Heather does a fantastic job. So social media is websites and tools that enable users to create and share content and to socialize. So for your business, you want to use social media to drive traffic to your website. You want to be part of the conversations happening in your industry. You want to demonstrate that you're current by sharing articles and stories with potential customers and colleagues. And you want to demonstrate that you're knowledgeable about your industry and your product by sharing your own original content. So that could be a blog on your website. It could be a video you published or a training seminar that you did, sort of like this webinar that we're hosting right now. So this is a little diagram that shows you just how many social media tools are out there. There are hundreds of them, and it can be really daunting. I think that's one of the bigger reasons why people don't get into social media. But to make it simpler for you, I just want to talk about 3 today, and then LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. It looks like we have a question, actually. Someone asks, the website builders that you've highlighted, are WordPress add-ons possible, or is that something completely different? That's a really great question. WordPress is another example of another website builder. People like it because it has a ton of functionality. You can do more with the tools. So you can do more with WordPress and the tools I outlined, but it is a little bit more difficult to use. You need a little bit of knowledge of HTML and CSS and these fancy acronyms. WordPress add-ons are simply just chunks of code, these numbers and letters that I spoke about earlier. In the same way that you can take WordPress add-ons, these chunks of code, you can take chunks of code from other tools and put them onto these websites. So yes, you can do add-ons in the same way that WordPress can. They just may not be specifically WordPress branded. Thank you for the question. So back to LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. With LinkedIn, here it is a social network strictly for professionals. So you're only talking to people that are working in your industry. They want to know about you, and they're there to make new partnerships. Here on LinkedIn, you can participate in discussions, and you demonstrate your knowledge. So you can share your articles, you can comment on other people's articles, you can ask questions and people will comment on it. It's really, really great for getting yourself out there. And it's free. Twitter is also free, and people are a big fan of it because it is massive. You get access to a huge volume of users, and these are consumers, these are business professionals, these are bloggers, this is everyone. Twitter is for really quick info. A tweet is only 100 to 150 characters, so you want to push your point home very quickly and very frequently. So Twitter allows you to follow and participate in trends. It allows you to drive traffic to your website by posting links to your website, and it generates awareness for your brand. So if I'm on Twitter and I hear about so-and-so company, and if I look them up on Twitter and I don't find them, it shows to me that they really don't care about the awareness of their brand, or they're not part of the conversation. So even if you don't tweet all the time, just being on there, maybe sending out a message, twice a week or something like that, shows people that you're actually part of the conversation. And lastly, Facebook. For businesses, my suggestion for Facebook is just to be there. You don't have to engage all the time because Facebook is a very personal thing. People use it to talk with their friends and share pictures, but for business, they're not usually going on there to buy products, especially if you're talking about biotechnology or heavy industry like that. So just be there, keep your page up to date, and link them to your website so that if they search you on Facebook, they're going to find you. So last but not least, I want to talk about analytics. Analytics is essentially just information that you get about your website, knowing how people are using it, how often they're using it, that sort of thing. So this is an example of a report from Google Analytics. It's a free tool that you can attach to your website. So this report shows me how many visits I got, how many of those visitors were unique, how many page views I got, all these really, really great pieces of data. You can get anything like knowing where people are clicking from, what specific pages on your website they're going. It's very, very, very important information. So if you're going to set up a website, I encourage you to either sign up for Google Analytics or choose a web building tool that allows you, that actually has analytics built within the platform. So I'm going to pass it off to Jen to wrap things up.
Thanks, Jenny. I'm just bringing up my slide here. The irony is not lost on me that we have a little bit of a glitchy problem with our webinar software, but you really should listen to us about the other digital tools we're talking about today. We're a lot more comfortable with them. So yeah, just to wrap things up, we really just wanted to convey that setting up a website and an email address is pretty quick, it's pretty easy, and it shouldn't cost you a lot of money. There may be a little bit of fiddling around, but it's fairly easy to get up and running, especially when you don't have a lot of resources to commit to your digital presence and your IT infrastructure. It's really important to use social media to drive traffic to your website. That's the key use of social media. And like Jenny said, it's free, and yeah, it takes a bit of your attention, but really, really important tools that the entire market is using for sure. And simple tools for looking at, I think we missed a word there, but I think we're talking about the analytics. So there are some Google Analytics is out there, it's free, and it's pretty easy to look at traffic, who's coming to your website, what they're doing there, why they're interested in you, and you take that information and spin it back around to help develop your business. And just one more note, it's pretty important. Sometimes it's a bit of a hurdle just to be setting up a website and then you're like, oh wow, it's done. But it's really important to keep it current and keep it relevant. It really is a bit of a tarnish, a black mark on your presence when someone goes to your website, it's 2 years out of date, the information is not accurate, the email bounces, that kind of thing. So really, really book in time every week to check out things, make sure they're current, and keep it up to date. So that's all we had to talk about today about websites, emails, social media. Just a few sources there that we talked about, and the last link, Site Builder Report, is a great comparison of the different web hosts and tools we talked about today. Are there any other questions out there for us, for me or for Jenny, about websites, social media? Well, if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to close off. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and check back with us for more training and education sessions in the future. Thanks.